Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring Stephen Mitchell's translation of the Tao Te Ching. It's often called a guide to living, really.
Absolutely. It's known for being incredibly clear, wise, even humorous at times.
And we know you want to grasp these big ideas quickly, but still get the depth. So that's our goal today, the core concepts, without getting lost.
Right. And starting with the author, Lao Tzu. Well, he's a bit of an enigma, isn't he?
Totally. Was he a real person? A contemporary of Confucius, maybe?
Yeah.
An archivist?
Yeah, the stories vary. Even his name, Lao Tzu, likely means old master or maybe old boy. It feels like he deliberately wanted to vanish behind the wisdom itself.
Leave no trace, just the teachings.
Exactly.
And the central teaching, the Tao. It's about living in sync with how things are, right?
Precisely. Not fighting against the current, but becoming one with it. It's harmony.
Mitchell's translation highlights wei wu wei. I always find that phrasing interesting.
Doing, not doing. It sounds contradictory.
It does. But it's not about laziness or passivity, is it?
Not at all. Think of an athlete completely in the zone. Effortless action. That's closer to it. Pure, effective action that arises naturally.
Okay, let's dive into chapter 1 then. This idea of the unnameable Tao.
It starts right off by saying, the Tao that can be spoken isn't the eternal Tao. Same for the name.
So language has limits.
Big limits, according to this.
Right.
The unnameable is the source, the eternally real. Naming things.
Well, that creates the world we see, the individual things.
Like distinguishing one wave from the ocean.
That's a great way to put it. And Mitchell points out this paradox. Free from desire, you sense the mystery, the source.
But caught up in wanting things.
You only see the manifestations, the waves, not the ocean.
Yet both experiences, desire and desirelessness, come from the same source. He calls it darkness.
Yeah, but not a negative darkness, more like a profound mystery. The gateway, he says, to all understanding. It really questions our constant need to define everything, doesn't it?
It really does. Which leads nicely into chapter 2, the master's way. Acting without striving.
Teaching without words. It's about letting go. How so?
Letting things arise and pass away naturally. You create but don't possess. You act but without expecting reward or recognition.
And then you forget the work once it's done.
Right. And that's what allows the work or its effects to truly last. No ego involved.
That ties into chapters 4 and 11, this idea of emptiness. The te as a well.
An inexhaustible, well, yeah, an empty vessel. But the emptiness is key.
Mitchell uses the examples of a wheel, a pot, a room.
Exactly. It's the empty space, the hole in the wheel's hub, the hollow in the pot, the space in the room that makes it useful.
So non-being is actually what we use. That turns our usual thinking upside down.
It does. We focus on the solid, the tangible, but the potential lies in the emptiness, the space.
Like silence in music.
Perfect analogy. Which brings us to softness and yielding, chapters 8 and 43.
The supreme good is like water.
Water nourishes everything without competing. It flows to the lowest places, happy to be there.
And it's the gentlest thing, yet it can wear away the hardest rock.
Mitchell emphasizes that. The soft overcomes the hard. And also, that which has no substance enters where there is no space.
It's about the power of non-action, of yielding.
In a way, yes. It shows that flexibility and persistence, like water, can achieve what brute force cannot. Think about navigating disagreements that way.
Instead of confrontation, finding the path of least resistance, perhaps.
Could be much more effective. Then chapter 33 shifts focus inward.
Knowing yourself versus knowing others.
Right. Knowing others, that's intelligence, but knowing yourself, that's true wisdom.
And mastering others is just strength, but self-mastery is true power.
And crucially, realizing you have enough. That, the text says, is true wealth. A radical idea in our world.
Definitely shifts the goalposts from external validation to internal awareness.
And finally, let's briefly touch on governance, chapters 17 and 57.
The best leader is one that people barely know exists.
Exactly. Contrast that with leaders who are loved or feared or even despised. The ideal is almost invisible leadership.
How does that work?
Through non-interference. Let go of control, rigid plans, excessive laws. The idea is the world, or the people, will govern themselves more effectively.
Fewer rules lead to more virtue. That's counterintuitive for many.
It is. It suggests that too much control can actually stifle natural order and goodness. It's about trust in the process.
So wrapping this up, the core message seems to be about aligning with that natural flow, finding power in yielding, wisdom and self-knowledge.
And perhaps trusting emptiness and non-interference more than we usually do.
It leaves us with a lot to think about.
Indeed. Maybe consider this. Is there a challenge in your life right now where you're pushing really hard?
Uh,
Could you perhaps achieve more by easing up, by trusting the flow a bit, by trying to act without doing?
that's a fascinating question to carry away.
Hmm.
For anyone wanting to go deeper, Stephen Mitchell's translation of the Tao Te Ching is definitely worth exploring further.